I am your host, Ann Alston, and it is once again my pleasure to bring quality programs to all of you. I am so excited to be here yet again with another amazing participant who is here doing amazing things with couples, and I would love to talk about her as we get into this podcast season. This year we have 58 participants who is here on the podcast platform to share their information with you. And just in case you did not know, the purpose of the BMWOC is to not only unify our businesses and working industries, but we're also sharing this information to the career seekers, to working professionals, students, or whoever would like to learn more about what's going on in the career and business industries and career professionals. Be sure to listen to all of the podcasts and make sure that you also share and like this podcast with your following so that they can get this information as well. We will have a lot of great people on here this year. And don't forget to vote. Don't forget to vote. Don't forget to vote. This year, again, we're going to be giving out BMWOC awards. And we also want to make sure that you take advantage of this opportunity by contacting the people on the podcast should you have any questions or should you need to know anything else about their profession. Before we get to our amazing podcast participant today, I want to take a moment to thank our corporate sponsors who is here to support this cause: My Financial Home, Evangelism Radio, J&F Enterprises, Sears Consulting, Autism Families Rock, Awakening to Love, Eli Natoli, Kimberly McLemore, True Synergy, and Platinum Financial Services, along with all of our participants and business affiliates who is helping to make this season a huge success. So as I said at the top of the hour here, we have another amazing person here that's going to be talking about helping marriages that are built to last. And that is the name of her organization, Cynthia. She is here to talk about her business, Marriage Visionary Strategist. Cynthia is a profile speaker, coach, and two-time Amazon best-selling author. She is also a full-time wife and entrepreneur. She makes no secret that she is still on her honeymoon after 11 years of marriage. Together, she and her husband have 4 children and a blended family. Cynthia also has a master's degree in human relations and a dual major in psychology and communications from UNC Greensboro, North Carolina. She is also a certified prepare enrichment facilitator and has been featured in Huffington Post, Washington USA, Channel 9, Our Wedding Magazine, and Power Networking Conference, among some other events. I'm telling you, you just have to read her bio because I can go on and on and on. So Cynthia, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy you're here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on your show, Ann. I truly am excited and appreciate it.
Awesome, awesome. So Cynthia, tell everybody, where you're from and a little bit of your educational background and how did you even get into one, you got a master's in human relations. So, talk about how your journey was when you were growing up and what led you to get to where you are today.
I am an original Southern girl, Southern belle, very proud to be from Fayetteville, North Carolina, but I currently live in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. And I can honestly say that I have always had an interest in counseling and in relationships since junior high school. So in college, I knew that I wanted to be a psychologist was my goal when I started out to college. However, my guidance counselor, no one else, told me that you had to have a PhD in order to be a psychologist. Along the way, though, I found out that I could be a counselor with my master's degree. So in undergrad, I majored in psychology and communications, on the path to PhD in psychology. And then, life happens. I got married. I had children. Didn't get my master's until later on. And my master's in human relations is actually a concentration in counseling. It's all about the study of relationships. And I actually was living in Germany, in Europe, when I got my master's degree. So that's a very unique and interesting story. But yes, that's what led me on my path to counseling and to coaching, which is my passion, helping couples and helping people in their relationships.
Okay, so thank you for sharing that information. I want to take a step back because you mentioned that, you got into psychology. Was it something when you were younger that kind of just drove you to psychology? And then later, I'm actually surprised too that you actually went to Germany to do your degree and everything. So I was really excited to hear that. But what was that thing, that kind of just said, this is the path that I really want to go into?
It was two things. First of all, in high school, I realized that since junior high school, a lot of my friends tended to come sit on my bed. Actually, like my friends would come visit me at my house, and we'd be in my bedroom hanging out, and they always came to me to get advice on their relationships. I just look back on it and I can remember my friends literally always seeming not to just come to me about their relationships, but about their problems and their issues. So I knew I was a good listener, and I knew that inside of me that I had something special that could help people. And then also my guidance counselor in high school actually lived in my neighborhood. She lived two doors from me. And we developed a relationship when I was in high school. I used to go to her home all the time. And I really admired her. And at first, I thought I wanted to go to college to be a guidance counselor. They actually had that track at my college. But as time went on and I really learned all the paperwork, more paperwork and report card things that a guidance counselor did, I didn't want to go specifically into being a guidance counselor, but I knew I wanted to be a guidance counselor simply because of the way that she used to help me and my sisters and brothers, and of course, everyone else in my high school.
Absolutely. Okay, fantastic. And so fast forwarding to today, somehow or another, you got your master's and then you ended up getting married. And then what happens? Now all of a sudden you're trying to, or this business of marriage to last, just this birth from this experience. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Wow. Most of my career, I've been a counselor. I started out as a social worker in North Carolina, and then I was a counselor at Job Corps. I took a little bit of a detour. I lived in Germany due to my ex spouse. We lived in Germany because he was in the military, and they actually flew the professors into Germany for us to take our courses for my master's program. And from there, I actually got into my business, Marriage Built to Last, when I was laid off from my last job in higher education. In 2014,
Mm.
got a call to come into the dean's office, and I knew they had laid off over 100 people, but I was told that they wouldn't be laying off in my department. But of course, things changed, things happened, and I was laid off. And honestly, I was home for about 3 days, kind of having a little bit of a pity party, wondering what my next steps I really wanted them to be. And a friend of mine called me and she's like, Cynthia, what are you doing? And I said, girl, you won't believe it. I just got laid off from my job. And she literally got excited. She was like, awesome. What a great opportunity. And I'm on the other end of the line wondering, did she really hear what I just said? And she said, and I asked her, and she said, yes. She said, now you can pursue your dream and your passion. And I really literally said, my dream and my passion. I didn't know where she was going. And she said, Cynthia, what is your passion? What is it you're always talking about and you wanted to do something with it one day? And I said, you mean marriage? Yeah, relationship? She said, yes. And she was a life coach, and I literally hired her that day to help me to start building my business.
Wow. Wow. I mean, it's things like that that puts things in perspective because I remember the times that I was laid off, which helped me spark bringing Austin Tech back. You know, I, I'm just amazed that it takes that kind of extreme thing to happen for us to kind of like pursue our passion. But, it worked out for you because you're actually out there doing all this amazing things. So let's talk about Marriage Built to Last. When you were first putting this together, what was your kind of initial thinking? Because this is definitely something different. I've never heard of counseling that kind of looked at it from this approach based on some of the stuff I've seen you do. So what was sort of like your mode of thinking at the time when you were kind of building this thing together? Because I have interviewed other people who are marriage counselors or people who want to pursue that type of thing. And maybe you can kind of share some do's and don'ts that you learned, some lessons learned about that.
I think the first thing that I would say is that I knew that we wanted to be a different type of marriage business. And I have to say we because I do this business along with my husband James. So when I started on this journey, I knew that I would always think outside the box. I usually see the big picture and I have big vision. And I knew that I wanted multiple arms to the business. The first vision that I had was hosting my own events and also having what we call the perfect date. The perfect date is simply we put it out there that we're going to be having a date night at such and such place, such as the driving range or at an obstacle course, doing zip lining or something, and we have couples meet up with us, that type of thing. But basically, doing the couples festival, our annual event, which is very unique because it is more of a festival type atmosphere where we have a huge expo. And so I really just wanted to step outside of the box and do some different things. And I knew I wanted to do virtual things such as virtual conferences and our online university, our online courses. I would say that the one thing that you don't want to do is be like everybody else. There are a lot of people out there doing marriage, and we're a combination of a marriage business and marriage ministry, but mainly we are a marriage outreach company, meaning there are a lot of marriage ministries in the church, but people sometimes, churches don't have that the marriage piece, or couples want to see someone outside of the marriage piece. And honestly, a lot of times they're not looking to go to professional counselors. So when they hear the word marriage coach, they tend to gravitate towards that a little more, especially when we explain the difference between a counselor and a coach.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are now really making the distinction between the two because they are so closely related and the way the topics is going. And I think in the last couple of years, talking to many people, they really are trying to make that line in the sand between coaching and doing other stuff that's related to that and just making themselves distinctive. And I love the fact that you're also talking about how you have to stand out, that you have to be different and provide something that's different and unique. So let's talk about some of the services that you offer, with your organization, that you've been able to make an impact with some of the marriages.
I think our biggest is we started out doing we started out doing a lot of things. We started out doing videos called What Would You Do? You can go on our YouTube, on our Marriage Built to Last page, and we were just simply doing little acting scenarios, acting out different types of scenarios that couples go through, and we would act out one day the a conflict that they may have, and then the next week we would give the couples the solution. That was one thing that was unique that we did. Now we have a Facebook Live show every Saturday morning where we're actually cooking our own breakfast in the kitchen, and but we
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you guys are fabulous doing that.
yes, that's one of our favorite things to do. Have our own radio show, but we did away with that because we were
Hmm.
literally getting a lot more views on our Breakfast with the Greens on Saturday mornings than on the radio. And it was we really preferred, it's more comfortable when you're home, you know what I mean, and we're kind of just doing our own thing, and it was a little less formal. We are planning to expound on that and start bringing in guests during breakfast time, but that is one of our big things. And then one of our other big services that we really like is that we have a digital university where we have online courses that couples can take, and along with that, we also have a membership driven organization piece in our membership portal where they can join our club that we have for couples. Things that we offer is one-on-one coaching for couples and group coaching. We have workshops, we have conferences, we have retreats.
Okay, so let me ask a question then. What are some of the major issues that you're finding in these activities that marriage, or people who are married nowadays? I mean, for me, I'm coming up on 20 years, which is a long time. I'm used to families who have been married long, long periods of time, 40, 50, 60 years. I'm not familiar about what, people who are married are going through today, but it would be really interesting to know some of the challenges that they are facing in this day and time, especially with stereotypes going on, blended families, biracial families, all this kind of stuff that's going on today. And so, for those who are listening, I think it would be really advantageous if you could share some of the challenges that they are facing and maybe some of the resolutions that they found during this process.
Okay, so I'll take it from a statistical and data ridden aspect first. Statistically, it is showing that the blended family is fast becoming the number one type of marriage. And that has become a big challenge for couples. And what we see when we're coaching couples is that most of the couples that we coach are blended families. And they are challenged because when you are bringing in two different types of parenting styles, a child coming from two different homes, he's with mom some of the time, he's with dad some of the time, and they have different styles. And then you've got this new spouse in the home who has another style, and then you've got the extraneous grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, relatives. That's a big dynamic to try to merge. That is what we're finding is one of the number one challenges of today's couples. I would say the second challenge is it's so easy to give up these days. Back in the day, we can honestly say that people hung in there. They stuck it out. They stayed together. Like you said, you're used to people who've been married 40, 50 years. Me too. I get invited to anniversaries back home to people celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. But today, I guess because of maybe social media, maybe because of the media, television, for whatever reasons, people find it easier to be influenced to just walk away. And that is not the best answer.
Wow, that's interesting. You said that they find it easier to walk away. Um, it kind of almost brought me back to the early 1970s and early 80s, or, when a lot of parents were just breaking up just to be breaking up. A lot of men was leaving the family, the women was left with the kids, and then you had the so-called lock key kids, after that point, because all the kids were going to school by themselves and coming back home with a key, and they were really coming home to an empty home because the other parent had to work. And I remember those days where my mother and father and grandparents and all that kind of stuff was, they just didn't understand, why a family is sort of breaking up. But I do think that the media has a huge play on how they see families, how they see marriage as what's supposed to be, and how it's supposed to, long lasting. And then you have the millennials coming up who are looking at the two differences or two or three different ways that people can stay in a marriage. And it can be confusing. It's definitely confusing. And I think for my kids, and especially my youngest, who's a millennial, I definitely, try to instill with him that, marriage is very sacred. There's a partner for every person that's out here, and you need to make sure you're finding the right partner. And I think for my boys, they have been very lucky to pick the right girl. So I'm sort of thankful for that, and I'm also thankful for my marriage as well. But it is definitely challenging and definitely very confusing for people who don't really understand that.
Very, very, very true, Anne. And you make a really good point. I haven't done a lot of research on it, but you're right. In the 70s and 80s, there was a lot of men leaving the home and mothers becoming single parents, and yes, the latchkey era was real. And what I found in some of my research is that during that time, that's during the time too when people started, like moving away from the cities that they grew up in, and people weren't staying on their
Yeah.
job for
Oh
20.
yeah, yeah. That is so true. A lot of people started moving like outskirts.
And everybody was transient, and then that's also when the computers were coming out and people
Hmm.
were getting more information and more knowledge, and they were being more curious, and they want to go live here, and they want to go do this, and they want to do their own thing. And when the children started living in other cities, the families were just not as connected as they used to be. And so that just became like a transient thing. I'll tell you another thing that was happening too. Whereas, like I say, the couples used to just stay together, it became a trend too where when the children became adults, the husband and wife didn't learn to bond and have a marriage just for them. And so when the kids became adults nowadays, what is happening, the husband and wife don't know how to connect, and they've drifted apart because they were totally focused on the child, their children. And so once the children all leave the home, that empty nest syndrome is real. A lot of them just don't know how to connect. And we're finding that a lot of couples are breaking up when all the kids leave the home. And that's a tragedy because there is a way to fix that and to have couples stay together and reconnect if they're willing to get the coaching or counseling and use the right.
Hmm. Exactly. I do think that some people can get some of that information through just getting mentors for those who are married and that live in their neighborhood, who they know, or maybe other friends and family who has been married. Those are also avenues in which someone can learn how to stay connected and stay together. I think for me, communication is the number one thing. Communication and transparency with my partner and my partner with me, and making sure that we are on the same page with them things, because as you get older, your perspectives change. I know that mine change, and many times we have to kind of like review where we are in our own mind, in our own space, and how we feel in our marriage so that we stay connected. And I think that's another thing that's missing with some folks who are divorcing after a short period of time. Maybe they just didn't have all the pieces in part when they got married. They just knew they was loving the other person. But, there's other things that go into it besides love.
Absolutely. And you're hitting it all on the nail. A marriage coach, okay? But no, you're so right because a lot of people. Well, first of all, we need to do more work before we get married. We really, really, really do. There's premarital counseling is great. Some people have a month of that, some 6 weeks, some 10 weeks, some 3 months. But even with that, you still need to be working on the marriage before you get married. And then what we're finding, and I do want to just say this, our book, Don't Get Married If, is a really good book to help you work on your marriage before you get married. And then once you get married, Ann, you need to work on the marriage at the very beginning. And that's a problem too. People don't think marriage is work, but it is, but it can be good work. When you first get married, you went on your honeymoon, you're in the home together, and you're all googly eyed and happy. But then when a conflict comes up, if you haven't done the work to know how the two of you handle conflict, that's where the miscommunication comes in and where the problem starts arising. So that we encourage couples to get coaching even in the early stages of their marriages so that you know how to communicate really well and how to handle those little foxholes, those little situations, those little circumstances that come up that can cause an issue in the relationship.
Absolutely. And here it is. I'm going to tie the business and career piece because I know people listening like, what this has to do with business, right? This has everything to do with your business and career, because a lot of times when you are going through those kind of challenges because you're not communicating with your spouse, it can spill over at the job. It can spill over in your business when you're trying to run your business and causing you to not be focused, causing you to make mistakes, causing you to lose clients or to be laid off on your job because you're not performing well because you're thinking about your marriage and how it's not working. I do feel that, a happy home makes happy business, happy career. And if you're able to, control that section, that communication, if you're able to kind of overcome it and recognize when there is a problem, then you can fix the problem and then everything else will just kind of like fall into place. People don't realize that everything you do at home, your behavior and everything, it does translate into when you're in your business and when you're at the job. It really does. You bring that stuff home, you don't mean to, but you do. And then next thing you know, your coworkers are noticing it, your business partners are noticing it, and then you start seeing some negative things happening, going on.
That is very true. My husband and I, we teach a course called Marriage, Business, and Wealth. And we talk about all of those challenges, whether that's your business or your career, that couples have when they have to juggle the relationship, the household, the kids, and the business or your career. And you've got all these things going on, and you have to learn how to balance them because you're exactly right. If the marriage isn't balanced, if the family isn't balanced, if your household is off key, it is going to affect your career. It is going to affect your business. And you have to learn what the roles and responsibilities of each of you are and how you're going to support each other. The key is you're all one team. You're both one team. And it's all about getting a strategy and having a vision for how we will all work together.
Absolutely. And that also builds, and I'll add this one thing before we go into the next section, is it also builds that spiritual connection that you hear a lot of people have when they've been married for a long period of time. It is more than just kind of being together for like 10 or 20 years. You're actually spiritually bonded and you start feeling the other person, finishing sentences. It's kind of weird. I have it in my marriage, and my husband, he's so funny. He'll just say, "Yeah, I ESPN you," and I say, "Hey, that's a sports channel," but he'll be trying to say ESPN, and we definitely have that connection for sure. And I think that that is the best part of the marriage. You have all the good stuff, but I think the spiritual connection for me is the best part of the marriage. And so I want to thank you for sharing those tips. And so want to kind of like shift the gears a little bit and talk about what type of activities that you have coming up in the next few months that people can come out and get this information. Would love to know if you have any conferences or maybe even kind of some sessions that you're holding that people can get a hold of you and just kind of show up.
Well, and we have a plethora of things coming up, but I'm going to tell you about three. James
Okay.
Givers, we love to give back to our community, and so we have our annual free community event that is coming up here in the DMV area. It's called Black Marriages Matter. A lot of people don't know, but there is a National Black Marriage Day. It's always the last Sunday in March. So March 24th is National Black Marriage Day. And in honor of that and in honor of us wanting to give back to our community and bring more awareness to marriage and love and the family and the community, we're having our Black Marriages Matter conference. You can go on Eventbrite to find it or on our Facebook page. We do have a Black Marriages Matter page also. Then we are also having a 3-day online virtual summit where we're going to have over 25 relationship experts. That is a free online conference that people can join. That page is not up yet, but it will be soon, and you can find the information on our Facebook page. And then in June, I'm so excited. We are having our huge annual Couples Fest conference. Now, this is not a conference. It's actually a Couples Fest festival and expo where, again, we will have over 20 relationship experts, but we are also including some live demonstrations where the couples can have some fun, learn how to do things like salsa dance and hand dance and give your spouse a massage, a healthy cooking demonstration, a sexy fitness routine. The Couples Fest Festival is going to be live and off the chain. We will have entertainment like comedians, singers. We're going to have some celebrity guest appearances. I will not be sharing that right now, but that event is June 14th through 15th. And actually, Ann, on Friday night, the Couples Fest kickoff, we will be celebrating our company, Marriage Built to Last, 5-year business anniversary celebration. So we're excited about what we have in the pipe coming up.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. Make sure that you give me that so I can put this down on your page and have people click on it as we're talking about that. And if anyone have any questions or concerns or want to reach out to Cynthia Greene about any of these activities or anything that you find that resonates with you, please make sure you reach out to her. If you can't get to her, definitely contact me and I'll make sure I connect the two of you together. And so I have one last question to ask you, Cynthia. What do you or your business need to thrive?
What do we need to thrive?
Yep. What do you need to keep doing what you're doing?
You know what? I think what we need is just people who believe in us and for us to keep supporting the people who are following us and believe in us. It's all about collaboration and partnership. So we are looking for partners and collaborators for the year of 2019 and beyond, and build relationships with people who have a passion for marriage, for relationships, for couples, for families, and the community like we do. And those are the things that are going to help us to continue to thrive and help this business grow.
Okay, give everybody your contact information so they can get to you.
You can find us on all social media as Marriage Built to Last. I do want to make sure that you know that's the number 2, Marriage Built, the number 2, Last. And you can reach us at info@marriagebuilttolast.com. And you can go on our Facebook page, marriagebuilttolast.com, and find us, reach out to us, send us an email, text us, inbox us. Any of those ways you can reach us if you're interested in partnering with us, collaborating with us, being a vendor, a sponsor, or a speaker.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Cynthia, for being a participant in the BMWOC podcast. I want to also recap for everyone that, having a happy home or happy relationship just spells happiness all the way around. So make sure you connect with Cynthia Greene on her website or email, or just click on the information down below and attend one of the events. And also make sure you vote for your favorite podcast. Right now we have 7 awards up for grabs. So if you like Cynthia's interview, make sure you hit the like button. And also that counts as a vote. Please like and share all of the podcast participants. I know there's probably a lot of them, but please make sure you like and share because we are all stronger together. And I want to thank you again, Cynthia, for being on the podcast.
Whoop, whoop. And remember, it will last.